Hello, St. Mark's, and welcome back to Musical Mondays. As you know, we took a bit of a break from these for the holidays while we were so busy here at church with Advent and lessons and carols and Christmas. But it's a new year and a new season in the church year, Epiphany, and so we're glad to be back presenting these concerts again. The timing couldn't be better. As you know, last weekend the church had to close back up to in-person worship because of the rise in COVID cases in our area. And so what better time for us to restart these concerts and share music together while we're all at home. Additionally, during the Epiphany season, as many of you know, we would be presenting our Epiphany concert series here in our lovely chapel, which is where I am today. But again, because of COVID, we could not present those this year. And so, again, great timing to restart these for the Epiphany season. They can kind of take the place of what would have been our Epiphany concert series here in the chapel. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the return to these concerts, and I hope you enjoy what I have to offer today, which is music for the season of Epiphany and seasons around it. I will present a couple songs for Epiphany, or a couple organ pieces for Epiphany. I also have one for the new year, and stretching a bit further back, I'm going to start with a piece for Advent, which I know we're well past, but I wanted to include it because today, the day that this actually broadcasts, is Martin Luther King Jr., the holiday where we celebrate his life and honor it. So I thought it would be important. He didn't write any music, but I thought it would be important to include something composed by an African-American composer. And so the first piece is the Toccata on Veni Emmanuel by Adolphus Hailstork, who is an African-American composer born in 1941, who composes many things, but several of the things he composes are sort of in our sort of high church Anglican Episcopal tradition. He received his first musical training at All Saints Episcopal Cathedral in Albany, which has a wonderful sort of high church choral and organ program. And so this toccata is very much sort of steeped in that tradition. He went on to study at Howard, Manhattan School of Music and Michigan State, and got degrees in composition, and then for his career became a college professor, a composition teacher, and a composer at Youngstown State, Norfolk State, and he is currently at Old Dominion in Norfolk, Virginia. This Toccata on Veni Emmanuel is really cool. It's in 5/8 time, which is not a normal time signature. It's like 2+3 or 3+2, giving it a very sort of syncopated and lively drive to the piece, kind of jazzy. The melody is usually down in the pedal, down low, played with my feet, while the hands just do these fast figurations over the top, which feature snippets of the melody, but the melody is usually in the feet, until you get to the rejoices. Rejoice, rejoice. Those come in big syncopated chords in the hands. A lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the Toccata on Veni Emmanuel by the African-American composer Adolphus Hailstork. hope you enjoyed that Toccata on Veni Emmanuel by Adolphus Hailstork. Next, I'll be offering two pieces for Epiphany. Both are settings of Wie schön leuchtet der Morgenstern, which is How Brightly Shines the Morning Star, a German chorale or hymn tune for the season of Epiphany. The first is by Bach, the second is by Buxtehude, and the two pieces are somewhat related. As I said, they're based on the same tune, but Bach and Buxtehude knew each other. In fact, Buxtehude was a little older and was Bach's hero, and so this is not based on any known fact, but it's speculated, at least by me, that the pieces are related because the one by Buxtehude, the older composer, inspired the one by Bach, the younger composer. I will start with Bach's. Scholars know by paper analysis, they've studied the paper it was written on, that this is probably the oldest existing piece we have written in Bach's hand. So not necessarily the oldest thing he composed. He probably composed things when he was younger, but it's the oldest still remaining piece of paper we have that Bach wrote something on. That's his own composition. It was written sometime between 1703 and 1709, which coincides with Bach's very famous trip in 1705 to go visit Buxtehude, who, as I said, was his hero. As the story goes, he left his job, his current church job, without telling his employer, and walked 200 or 250 miles to go meet Buxtehude and hear him play and possibly even study with him, and was gone for a couple months. So obviously his employer didn't like that very much, and he was famously fired when he got back. But in the process, he got to meet his hero and learned a lot from him. And Buxtehude had written a toccata or a fantasia based on the same tune, which is a tune that Bach liked and wrote other compositions based on. And so you can see some similarities between the two pieces. And so it could be, again, this is nothing I know in fact, I'm just speculating and have read others who speculated this. It could be that he wrote it before he left on the trip to take to show to his hero. You know, sort of, hey, Mr. Buxtehude, this is this piece I wrote because I really like your piece and you're my hero, and sort of emulating what you did. The reverse could be true. It could be he visited Buxtehude and learned his work then, heard his piece and was inspired by it. And so maybe when he got back, he then wrote it in a similar style. Regardless, they're both wonderful pieces, both lovely settings of the same hymn tune, and while different, they share many similarities. Obviously, they're based on the same tune. The text is about the morning star, and so a lot of it is very high in the register, very fast and light, sort of shiny and star-like. So they share that in common. They're both long and sectional, so unlike a regular sort of chorale prelude you might play before a service that's just a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, both are 5 minutes or longer each. So a bit long for just a regular chorale prelude, and with these sections are more like a sort of a toccata in Buxtehude's style rather than just a standard chorale prelude. They exploit different manuals for different sounds. Although in the case of the Bach, I will register it a certain way that's just light and sort of sparkly, like the star, versus the Buxtehude has bigger, more clear sections, and I will register those very differently and perhaps more bold and more romantically than Buxtehude might have, just to sort of highlight them and give some interest to the piece. There's also a lot of similarity in how the tune is treated. It often comes in the pedal, in both compositions, although Buxtehude's doesn't use the pedal very much. The tune ends with just a downward scale, and a composer can do a lot with a downward scale. So both of them do all these sequential figurations based on the scale that are similar. And then one big similarity is right at the end, the last couple measures. Buxtehude ends so both are in G. They end it with the flat seventh added, which isn't particularly common. Normally that would be a sharp leading to the G, but they flat it, and both end that way with this long sort of G chord with an F natural in it, just before he finally finishes really in G, and so another similarity between the two pieces. So I will start with the Bach Then I will play the Buxtehude so you can hear the difference. As I said, I will register the two very differently, so even though they on paper do look similar because of the way I've chosen the stops, they'll sound different. But before I do either, let me just play the tune for you. It's not as familiar in our church, so that way you can hear it. The words are, "How brightly shines the morning star, with mercy beaming from afar. The host of heaven rejoices. O righteous branch, O Jesse's rod, thou Son of Man and Son of God. We too will lift our voices. Jesus, Jesus, holy, holy, yet most lowly, draw thou near us. Great Emmanuel, come and hear us." And the tune goes like this. So you heard right at the end, that's the downward scale. It just goes right down a D major scale. In our hymnal, it's in D. Their compositions, as I said, are in G. And then in the middle, you hear the really interesting part, almost like a cuckoo, sort of a call and response. And in both compositions, they do a lot with that using echoes and that repeated. Again, a good composer can do a lot with a little figuration like that. So hope you enjoy both of these settings of Wie schön leuchtet der Morgenstern by first Bach and then Buxtehude. So that was Bach's setting of How Brightly Shines the Morning Star. This is now Buxtehude's contrasting setting. As I said before, they are similar in some ways, and if I chose all the same stops, they would sound very similar since they're even in the same key. So I am purposely choosing different stops with the Buxtehude to show the contrasting sections, but also to give it some contrast from the Bach. So it doesn't sound like I'm just playing the same piece twice. So please enjoy the now contrasting Buxtehude setting of How Brightly Shines the Morning Star. hope you enjoyed those settings of How Brightly Shines the Morning Star for Epiphany. I'm going to turn now to a carol for the new year, In Dear is Freude, or In Thee is Gladness. This is Bach's setting of that hymn tune and really reflects the words, In Thee is Gladness. It is a very joyful, bubbly, exuberant, and bright setting. Sort of drives forward in a very joyful kind of way. Sort of a great way to say goodbye to the old year and welcome in the new year. Hope you are having a great new year. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll end with this piece, and thank you for joining us, and hope you'll tune in again next week.